everybody, panelists, presenters, and attendants to attend this workshop. It's really my pleasure to host this online workshop that is being carried out in the frame of Vita Global Project. That workshop is some kind of prelude of face-to-face meeting that is already rescheduled for 2021. Unfortunately, we don't have another opportunity. We should meet online. This workshop is really very unique because in other times we didn't have representatives of other universities who are not the part of the project, and now the meeting is attended by the representatives of other Georgian universities, and I think that it will increase the visibility of the project and will help to disseminate the project results as well and the whole project. So, this will give much more added value to the project. So I don't want to keep much of your time, and I would like to ask the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture to welcome the workshop panelists, presenters, and attendees, and then continue the meeting. Manana, the floor is yours. Please, you can welcome the workshop representatives.
Okay, welcome everyone. I am glad that Tel Aviv State University is hosting a meeting of the Vita Global Project. It was desirable to host the face-to-face meeting, but due to the current situation, we have to host online. I have been actively involved in all activities planned by the project, and I would like to proudly say that throughout this project, the Faculty of Agrarian Sciences has faced a great challenges. I would like to thank the project coordinators, those who considered Tel Aviv State University as a member of the project, because this project is very important for Tel Aviv University and especially for the Faculty of Agrarian Sciences. Within this project, different visions emerged for the viticulture winemaking program. It was updated and improved. These changes made the program more interesting and attractive. It increased public interest in the viticulture winemaking master's program, increased the number of interests and the employment rate of graduates. We hope to continue working with each of the universities represented in this project, their students and the academic staff in the future, which will increase and significantly enhance our faculty involvement in the international education space. Thank you.
Thank you, Manana. I think that now we have to move to the president of BRIAL, who is the main representative of the project Vita Global, and Mr. Ramon Torrent will talk about the goals of the capacity building workshops, and especially will mainly focus on the topic of today's workshop, that is university industry cooperation in the Vita Global project. So, Mr. Ramon, the floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. In fact, I'm replacing Nicolas Patrici, who had to do the job I'm doing now, because he has had to attend a medical appointment, but he will join us later in an hour or an hour and a half at most. And he couldn't be replaced by Elizabeth Colucci, whom you also know very well, because she's now in a transatlantic flight. So it fell on my shoulders to do these introductory words, which is difficult because I know the project much less than they do. So I will be brief. The important work is what you will do after my words, and I will address only 3 points. First is thanking Tel Aviv State University for the organization of this workshop and for all the work they have been doing in the project. It's a great idea to be able to welcome also other Georgian universities because this will enhance the outreach of the project, and will allow also partners in Vita Global to benefit from the contribution of your partner universities in Georgia. The second point is pretty obvious, in particular in Georgia, but I cannot help mentioning it, because as I hate any sort of Western European centrism, I must remind to myself at least that wine production and the wine culture is not something invented someplace in the west of France or in Spain or in northern Italy, but it's an invention of southeastern Europe and the Middle East and Iran, in particular a Georgian invention. So this you all know in Georgia, but many people do not know it in Europe. So it is an obligation for Western Europeans to say it and to keep reminding ourselves on this. My third point is a couple of ideas on university industry partnership for local development. I will begin by recalling what normally is alluded to as the three functions of universities: teaching, research, and a third function that everyone gives the name to it he or she wants, which is service to community or whatever. The case of viticulture, university, industry, local development is a perfect example of why these three functions must be considered together. As you know better than I do, in particular those in the wine industry, there is a continuous research, basic research and applied research applied to wine production within and outside the university. And of course, this research fits into the first function, teaching, and the third function, service to community, in particular in the area of local development. Vita Global is conceived on the basis of how to articulate this in the most adequate manner and how to learn from each other. Because I think the challenge is how in the first function, which is formal academic training and formal teaching, instead of gratifying ourselves as professors, saying that we are great intellectuals, we really teach something that is useful to people, to students, and to society. So the challenge is how in academic programs, the first function produce something that is really helpful for the third function, service to community. But this works also the other way around. How activities develop in the framework of the third function, more linked to outside the academic world, can be brought into the academic programs. In fact, instrumentally, Vita Global is about this: how to produce modules in the first area of formal academic teaching that can be used in the third function for service to community and local development, but also the other way around, because it is pretty clear that in the third function, there can be learning and teaching units very focused on the needs of industry and on the needs of society and local development. And then the challenge is to use this and to bring them to formal academic teaching. In fact, in the jargon, there are two different names for this. when we focus formal academic teaching, we say modules. When we focus units produced directly for the needs of industry or for the needs of some sectors in society, now the jargon invented in Brussels is micro-credentials. But in fact, the challenge is the same one way or the other. How to produce modules that can be used outside the formal academic programs in which they were conceived, and how to take micro-credentials that were invented and produced outside the academic programs and bring them to the formal organized academic programs leading to formal diplomas. So what you will be discussing today, I think, can be framed into these very simple ideas I have tried to convey to you. So this is the only point I wanted to stress in my introduction. I will leave it here, thanking again Tel Aviv State University, all other Georgian universities participating, and saying and reminding myself that Georgia was well before Bourgogne or Jerez or Brunello di Montalcino.
Thank you very much, Ramo. You are right. We are already recognized as the motherland and cradle of winemaking. I'm not the person who can and who should talk about it, but while talking in my international friends and colleagues, I every time mention, and I'm very proud that Georgia is the cradle of winemaking. Yes, this is the very important, and we are here to support that direction. Okay, thank you. Now we can follow the agenda. And I would like to mention that we have two presentations before the short break. We should talk about two Georgian universities who are the partners in the consortia of Vita Global Project. We should talk about our university goals and strategies for industry cooperation, how our staff and students are interact with industry, and how industry is engaged at institutional level. Of course, we are having challenges, specific perspectives on agricultural sector and viticulture. So I would like to ask representative of Georgian Technical University to talk about their institution, and later I will join you with the presentation of Tel Aviv State University. Mr. Igor, can you?
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I am Giga Kvartskhala, Georgian Technical University Faculty of Agricultural Sciences and Biosystem Engineering. Just to go back to Mr. Ramon's question very shortly, Georgian names, you can guess from which part of Georgia is person by our names. It's very short. So just go back to presentation to industry university cooperation. I would like to start with our faculty. Our faculty was established about 6 years ago, and right now at our faculty there are about 2,000 students, all in bachelor degree, in master and in PhD students together. It was established in frames of Georgian Technical University, biggest university in Georgia, and right now I think that our faculty is mostly equipped faculty in our field. So in a bachelor degree, we have viticulture and enology program. In master degree, we have two programs in viticulture and enology. It's an English language program and Georgian language program. And we are working in PhD degree program as well. But right now we have a PhD program in viticulture enology. So back to industry university cooperation and collaboration. I have to mention that unfortunately Georgia has not a long tradition in our country to cooperate with industry. But we just started, I mean, our faculty, we just started to establish new contacts with private sector, not only with private sector, also with sometimes with governmental sector as well. But there is no strong, as Mr. Ramon also mentioned, there is strong, some systematic overview of success, how we have to, what we have to do and what we have to make to establish good contacts. But firstly, I think that mostly important is resources. Of course, the human resources, but not only human resources, but human resources on the first place. And I think that all faculties, not only in Georgian Technical University, I think that all the universities, all faculties work to attract as good staff as possible. Also, we are making some challenges in this field, and we think that we already get some success, but anyway, it's not end of this. It's not ended. We are going to make our best in future as well. So, also, it's very important to know that human and technical resources, which are at faculty, and what we can suggest to industry. For example, we have, I would like to, during my presentation, I would like to demonstrate some examples of our cooperation. But firstly, when we started negotiation with our partners from industry, not only for industry, as I mentioned, for example, at some different places. Firstly, what questions arises from our partners is that I'm sorry, but we are working in different fields. So your syllabus, your programs don't how to say easier. We have differences. What we need, for example, in industry, and what you have at universities, and immediately we ask to our partners, please. Make syllabus together, make programs together, and sometimes they agree with us, sometimes unfortunately not. But anyway, with many representatives from industry, we are working together to make together syllabus and to sometimes change our syllabus and programs. And this process sometimes takes much time. Second, also there is big differences between sometimes big differences between industry and I mean at universities, because sometimes their expectation, our partners' expectation, it's not realistic sometimes. But I will go about this in the end of my presentation. Right now, I would like to say best practice which we have at our faculty, and even yesterday we finished one project with foundation who is involved. I mean, this foundation is involved in with our Tbilisi municipality is involved to make big project which started I think in next month, maybe from January, and will continue. It takes about 20-25 years. What I talk about, it's about 15 years ago. About 10 or 50 years ago, unfortunately, forests around PLC started this process. It started the composition process. It's don't relate it directly to winery sector, but it's good example. And many of our researchers, I mean Georgia researchers, were involved during these 10 years to study what's happened, what's a realistic problem of this decomposition. But unfortunately, this was divided by very short fields of researchers. About 6 months ago, this foundation asked Georgian Technical University and our faculty to help, and we done this project. Just yesterday, as I mentioned yesterday, we sent final project to foundation, and in our research we underline all issues which we have to improve in next 20-25 years. I mean to start this process, I mean again back. So this is one of the field, but also we have, for example, in winery, also we have some good practice cooperation. For example, just right now we have a PhD degree students who is working with one of the winery company. This company is Samora, and they order to make differences between query wine, which they already have, and or ordinary, we call it European style of wine, ordinary wine. What differences is between these two style of wine? Our PhD student started with these issues, and in next year, I think she will ready to demonstrate what is the differences. And right now we can say that there is big differences. It's also a good example how we work with industry. During the last 3 years, we also had some not big but little project with industry. For example, we prepared wild yeast. From wild yeast, we prepare yeast for company who is produce wine, and even today this company produce wine with our it's not our, but with our make yeast this wine. Also, we have some good practice through training representatives of company. Sometimes the level of it's related mostly to laboratory workers, lab workers, and sometimes, unfortunately, their knowledge is not too much, and so they sent to us lab workers. We have sometimes 1 month, sometimes 2 months or more training with them, and after they go back and have very good. Sometimes even they give more salary for them. But of course there is potential barriers. There are some difficulties in our cooperation. Firstly, unfortunately, there is sometimes different understanding and different understanding of time issues, unfortunately, and also the short-term orientation in our industry. It's also a big problem because they have some problems. They would like to change this program very fast, and until it's unfortunately they don't continue cooperation with universities. As I mentioned, this practice is absolutely new in Georgia, and we just started to cooperate with not only one from one side from universities, and second, the other side is industry, just generally outsources. So it's what I would like to mention about from our faculty. I'm ready to answer your questions. If you have questions, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I will switch off my microphone, and I'm ready to answer to your questions, okay?
Okay, it was really very interesting because all higher education institutions are facing the same challenges as you mentioned. Now I would like to give floor to Ramon because he wanted to make some comments. Please, Ramon, and then later I'll do the presentation of our university.
No, it is not comments. And I think it's much more important to discuss what Georgie has just explained to us and ask questions to him. What I have is a short story that maybe you will like, but this can wait. Let's go first for questions to Georgie if there are any.
Okay, here is the question from representative of South African University. Does your university make use of industry representatives to help teach?
Thank you very much for your question. Does your university make use of industry representatives to help teach? Yes, of course, and I think that this practice use not only our university, I think all Georgian universities use such kind of practice, but unfortunately, you know that sometimes it depends, and representatives to industry. I already mentioned that sometimes we have different missions and different view of problems, and mostly they are focused on the short term or problem solving. We have it, but I would like to have more.
Okay, any questions? I think that the questions will be later, I think.
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Georgie, have you produced what I alluded to in my first intervention, which is short, whatever you call it, short modules or short courses produced for industry, essentially for industry, what they would do themselves as in-house training, but or done with your university that can then be brought into academic programs?
Thank you very much for your question. So I would like to describe shortly, and I think that I will answer to your questions. So what I would like to mention, firstly, I forgot, and thank you very much for your support, because with Vita Global support, we already bought equipment for our pilot plant. So I am sure that from 2021 we will start to reconstruction our pilot plant, and in 6 months it will be ready. So it will be one space where even our PhD students, our master degree students can work and make some theses, their thesis, I mean. So to relate it to your more detailed to your question, industry, yes, we have some, not some, we have good relationship with winery industry in Georgia. And also they ask to have some to our teachers even to help in some problems if this kind of problem arising in industry. But also we have very good practice when our academic staffs are involved in industry as well. Some guys from industry also they are also involving in teaching process as well. For example, we have in our master degree program at least two representatives from industry, and also our academic staffs also works with industry as well. about 3 or 4 of them they are involved in this process. Also, you know that in our Ministry of Agriculture, there is some department of winery which is focused on the winery sector, and also we are cooperated with this department as well. I would like to say that not only this department, we have one of the best practice for cooperation with our Ministry of Agriculture, because in all sectors, not in winery sector, also in forest sector, in for example, animal sciences, we are working with them, and if some questions arising related to how to make some problems, some difficulties, they know us, and if these questions arising from industrial sector, immediately they have our contacts, and we have very good practice with them. But I think that sometimes, of course, as I mentioned, there are difficulties to work, but also this kind of, I don't like we have only some questions arising, some problems arising, we solve this problem, and after we forget about each other. It's a problem.
I'm asking this question because it's interesting, but also, and you should know it, because it is very fashionable in Brussels. You know, I worked in the hardcore of European Union institutions for 10 years, quite a few years ago. So I know the EU institutions from inside. And fashions come and go. And now the fashion is on micro-credentials. But micro-credentials is not normal or what you have just explained, and that I appreciate a lot. It's fashion. So fashion requires some ways of proving that it is fashion. And fashion means to produce a short course basically for the needs of society, for the needs of industry, and you have this short course that can be very short, very specific, very technical. And then once you have this short course, you give a credential, which is a micro-credential. And then how you move this micro-credential to formal academic programs. The advantage of this, Georgie, and all of you, is that if you have a project on this, at least you have the guarantee that it is fashionable in Brussels, which can always be helpful, even for future projects. But it must be presented, or as we are with by marketing here, it must be sold as micro-credentials, are something new that is not only having lecturers from industry at university and the other way around, but micro-credentials. I think that this, besides being fashionable, has an advantage, because it gives the advantage of thinking also in terms of modules. Nobody says if the modules are relatively long, as the one you are producing in Vita Global, or much shorter. It all depends on how you define modules. But this, Georgie, and all of you, my message is, this is fashionable. So take advantage of what is fashionable. But in order to be sold as something following the fashion or the tendency, as people say now, it must be dressed as micro-credentials.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ramon, for the questions, and thank you, Giga, for answers. If there is no questions, I can share my screen and talk about the same topic as Mr. Giga was talking about university industry cooperation. As far as I see, there is no questions. I will share the screen. Just a minute. Okay. My mission today, apart from the just announcing the speakers and the following representatives, is to talk about the goals and strategies for university industry cooperation. Everybody is aware where our university is situated. No, this. Oh, sorry. Everybody is. This is another. Where our university is situated. It's into the east part of Georgia. I put this slide to show where we are exactly. It's 1 hour and 10 minutes drive from capital of Georgia. I put this slide on for the foreign attendees and panelists who doesn't know where our university is. We are in the region that is mostly agricultural. Besides different agricultural crops and plants, winemaking and wine is mostly the major economic drive for the region. So I would like to mention that university decided to review the university strategic plan, and that time coincided with the time when the region also decided to elaborate new regional development plan. University really made the counterpart steps, and tourism together with agriculture became the major priorities of the university. So these two priorities are also the priorities of the project Vita Global. So university and the region are having the similar priorities, and this is the great motivator for the regional sustainable regional development. I'm not going to talk about faculties which is operating in the university, but only about the Faculty of Agriculture. We are operating on 3 levels of education. We've got 2 BA programs in agronomy and food technology, 1 master program in viticulture winemaking, and 1 PhD program in technology of producing alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. We have very, very strong and at the same time very fruitful university industry cooperation. So this is different types of cooperation. We are sending students for the internships, doing mutual researches with the industry representatives. We are involving practitioners in our study process, because the question was from one of the attendants about the involving them practitioners in the study process and use their expertise in our university researches. As you see, there is different kind of relations, university industry relations we are having. There are more than 90 factories and wine cellars in Kakheti, and most of them are our partners. Here is the small list of the partner wine factories we are operating with: Shumi, Shukhman Wines, Georgia, Teliani Valley, Georgian Soul, Kinsmarauri, Virabi Twins Wine Cellar, GVS, Badagoni, and so on and so forth. All these factories are the places where we send our students for practical placement. This is very important to say that they also, our students during their internships are receiving salaries, especially when there is the harvest time, because they work there as an operators. And as for the graduates, we have very high rate of employment of our graduates, especially in wine factories, because they are holding very responsible positions there. Some of them open their own wine cellars, some are chief winemakers, and some of them are managers in the wine factories. So this is very important to mention. Besides the practical placement, I would like to mention that we as a university, we are having status of university, we are doing researches. So we are connected with the industries in the direction of researches. So one of the general director, for example, GVS factory is the head of one research and practical unit of our Faculty of Agriculture. Representatives of owners of the twin wine cellar, we are our PhD students, and they really work on very important query winemaking technology. So the researches is also very big tie between our university and industry representatives. It is very important to mention that commercialization of all our researches is very important and very strong side of the faculty. For example, one of the research done in the university, which is concluded by our professor, is commercialized in one of our partner factory. This is Shumi Winery. This is modern technology of making churchela. Everybody knows what is churchela, but for the foreigners and Vita Global partners, they also know. When I go to the international meetings, I every time bring this. This is Georgian national candy, for those who don't know, which is made of walnuts and the grapes of and juice of grapes. So this technology already got the patent. So this is the research that is commercialized already in one of the partner Shumi Winery. There is another research that is done in the universities, technologies, opportunities of Chardonnay grown in Napareuli, that is commercialized in Shukman Wines, Georgia. So there are also other researches, for example, new technology this is research of constituent clay minerals of query and its influence on wine quality. I mentioned that the owners of these factories were our PhD students, and they really made that research and they are using it in their industry. So they commercialize that research in their factory. Wine cellars. So another is honey wine and honey spirit that is also very famous in one of the institution, its subculture. So all these researches are bringing money to our professors working on this direction. The important is that our agrarian staff is offering trainees to Kakheti farmers and industry representatives. This is very something we are using very actively nowadays. So this is another link to industry, so giving and offering training. Of course, there are challenges. Nothing is without challenge. So the first challenge is that there is lack of interest and initiatives from medium-sized enterprises and from the big ones. We are having regular meetings with them. We invite them on the meeting. Of course, they are coming on the meeting and listen to us, but there is no initiative from them. They are totally agree and rely on our expertise, and they are satisfied with the level of graduates we are offering them. We, of course, don't stop and plan some steps to face that challenge and melt their resistance. And we are offering and introducing them different researches that is done in our university. And also try to raise their interest and offer our equipped laboratory for their experiments. We elaborated one strategy. This is very important. This strategy is the following. We work hard with our staff who at the same time are employed in that industry sector. We work with them to make their employers sure to come to our university or in our laboratories for doing some experiments. That experiments, they should know that this is very important for their product quality. For example, now one initiative is coming from Shumi Winery. They say that they are interested in to define and count the varieties and quantity of pesticides that are transferred from grapes into wine. So we think that this is the first initiative and that won't be the last. So we try, as we own very good laboratories, we try to strengthen ties between the industries in their direction, and would like industries to use our laboratories and facilities, human resources and laboratories for their experiments. Another challenge we are facing is giving appropriate financial benefits to professionals. This is reality that when these professionals are working in the private sector, they have quite good salaries. So for the regional universities, it's difficult to make and offer them competitive salary. So it's impossible to reimburse their workload appropriately. And in most cases, they work with us on the level of enthusiasm. So that is the challenge, which is very difficult to cope with. To say the truth, viticulture sector is much more open than the winemakers because they came to us asking to find out what is the appropriate way of planting up the vineyard. So, well, as an information, I would like to say that we have 16 hectares of land, which is owned by the university and is used for different experiments. And one experiment we are doing now for this viticulture sector and are doing research on, we planted vineyard in different scams, and soon we will have the reply what scam is more profitable for them to use to get the profitable and very good harvest. Another direction we are working with them is researching the soils. In Kakheti, the soils have already changed, and the representatives of the viticulture sector are really interested in what is the consistency of their soil, and they came to us and we really are doing researches about the so our academic really work, our collaboration very intensive and closer. So we are much more stronger existence and huge collaboration with viticulture sector than with winemakers. As a conclusion, so this is the our land we are doing the experiments. So as a conclusion, I would like to say that although there are one of the strong side is relations with the industries, we really have much to work to strengthen, to make it stronger, deeper, and more fruitful, this cooperation in future. And to say honestly, we are very much rely on the project Vita Global Partner, because some of the professors of Vita Global Partners are on the way to becoming on the board on our PhD program. So having very experienced and European staff on the board will increase the level of reliability for industry representatives in Georgia, and particularly in Kakheti, where we are really operating with. So that was a very small introduction and more information about the industry cooperation, university cooperation. So if you have some problems, questions, I'm here to reply. Thank you.
არა, ყველაფერი კარგად. კარგი მოხსენება.
If you so I saw here that here was some problems of following the presentation. Yes, here are some messages that there was the presentation hack.
არ მოძრაობდა სლაიდი.
არ გადადიოდა სლაიდები კი.
Sorry, but I was talking and unfortunately I couldn't do anything now. I cannot repeat the whole presentation, but if you listened, you can ask me the questions. No questions. questions?
ამომწურავად ისაუბრეთ.
იმდენად ბევრი ინფორმაცია გადმოეცით.
ძალიან ამომწურავად ისაუბრეთ.
So here is the question: to what extent does industry requirements influence on your curricula? So, Manan, I think that this question is addressed to you. ანუ ეს ინდუსტრიის მოთხოვნები რამდენად გავლენას ახდენს თქვენ კურიკულუმზე? Can you reply to this question and I will translate it if you.
ხო, კურიკულუმზე ახლა ძალიან დიდ მნიშვნელობას არ ახდენენ. ხო, ვიცი, დიდ გავლენას არ ახდენენ ინდუსტრიის წარმომადგენლები, ერთადერთი თხოვდნენ პრაქტიკის ვადის გაზრდას.
Okay, as a reply to your question, they have the influence, but not much on the curriculum, because the main demand from them is to increase the hours for practical placement to our students. So there is only one requirement from them. So there is, because as I mentioned in my presentation, they are satisfied with the level of the graduates we are giving them later on. But they only ask us to increase the number of practical placement. That ზრდით მანანასაათებს.
ჯერჯერობით ახალ პროგრამებში გვაქვს გათვლილი გაზრდა.
For now, this requirement will be foreseen in new programs, not for the existing ones. Any questions? Okay, Nicholas is with us.
And Tamar, may I edit something? Our accreditation system works in this style, because we have to demonstrate during our accreditation process, I mean our program accreditation process, how we work during 7 years or during 4 years, it doesn't matter, how we work with industry and what we change during this negotiation with industry. It works in Georgia. So we have to change, we have to make some changes very often sometimes. And of course, I absolutely agree with Manana, from industry, we have some cooperation with industry, and they always ask to add some hours for practice and extend these practical hours. Yeah, it's true.
ხო, მაგრამ ზოგჯერ არ გვაძლევს პროგრამა მაგის საშუალებას.
There is strict rules. Yes, there is very strict rules we should follow to get the proper accreditation of the program. Okay, if there is no questions, I can announce the break. And that break will last in the agenda. The break will be for 1 hour.
Tamar.
Yes.
May I? Now, if there is not any question, and as Nicholas is already here,
okay.
If you allow me, I can take 5 minutes to explain my short story.
Okay, you can take also 10 minutes because we have time for it.
Somehow has to do with the birth and the conception of Vita Global, because it was in the back of the mind of someone who conceived it. The story is as follows. Franco, our dictator, died in 1975. And there began the process of democratic transition in Spain, and the first true democratic elections were held in 1977, June. In the aftermath of these elections, there was a very audacious operation led by the Spanish government to bring back to Catalonia the former democratic president of the Republican government of Catalonia, Tarradellas, who was in exile in France. And this was successful, and Tarradellas, the former great politician of the Republic, came to Barcelona in October 77 and established a provisional government. And then she knew very well the political and social and economic situation of Catalonia 40 years ago, 40 years before. And one of the things he did was to create a team of very young, very enthusiastic, very good, very motivated young civil servants. And he sent them in an exploratory mission to one of the traditionally poorest regions, all regions of Catalonia, 120 kilometers south of Barcelona, to see whether there was some means of bringing economic development to that small region. The team of very enthusiastic officials went there, was there for 2 or 3 weeks. I know the story from one of them, very good friend of mine. They studied the situation and they came back and went to the head of the Catalan government and said, President, we are sorry. There is no solution. There is no solution. They were poor, they are poor, and they will remain poor for the whole eternity because there is no solution. Okay. And there was no solution, no solution. If the team of the best and better motivated officials said that there was no solution, there was no solution. Okay. But around 10 years later, a madman from a winemaker in Rioja, Álvaro Palacios, completely mad, went to the same region. Now I can give you the name that all of you know, the Priorat, and decided that the best wine in the world could be produced there. And he began to explain this to wine producers in Priorat. And they reacted all in the same way. You are completely mad. We are unable to produce quality wine here. We only produce wine to be mixed up with other wines and to enhance the alcoholic graduation of the wine. Oh, no, we produce bad wine and we will always continue to produce white wine and we will continue to produce white wine and be poor. Until he found another young man from a winemaker in Catalonia, this time not in the Rioja, who was René Barbier. And he said, yes, I agree. I was convinced exactly like you. And the two began to plant new fields to use old ones. And they were able to convince some people that instead of producing wine whose price was 1, they could produce wine whose price was 100. And they invented the Priorat wine. And now, as you know, in the Priorat wine, some of the best quality wines in the whole world are produced. And now, if you go to the Priorat, 120 kilometers south of Barcelona, you will discover the same as in your region in Georgia, Tamar, in which you will find a small region that has come to life and has achieved a great deal of development and well-being thanks to wine and tourism. So what was impossible for good, the best technocrats in Catalonia became possible because two bad young men decided that the solution of that region was quality wine. This is, in fact, when Nicolas and Elizabeth explained to me Vita Global, I understood immediately the idea because I knew this story. The best proposal for the European Commission, if this was allowed by the guidelines and the rules applicable to proposals, would be to explain this story I have just explained to you. So now, when you hear about the Priorat wine and all these high quality, high prices wine in the Priorat, also now they produce all sorts of wine, but also with a level of quality, you must think that this was considered impossible by the best technocrats of the Catalan government. Only two mad young innovators decided that what was impossible would be possible. So explain to your students, because this is a nice story. You can find some reference in internet if you look. If you want them, I will give some for you, and you can circulate them. Most of them are in Spanish or in Catalan, but anyway, you'll be able to follow them. That's it. And now I leave the Obreal representation to you, Nicolas, and you can break for coffee or lunch or whatever. It has been a pleasure. Ciao. Bye.
Thank you very much for a very interesting story you told us. It's really, we will use it for our students. Nicolas, how are you?
Hi, sorry everybody that I couldn't connect myself before on time. I had a family issue, but I think Ramon represented Obreal better than I would have done it. So it's a pleasure for me to be here. On the agenda, Tamar, and now I am assuming that the first session is completed.
Yes, the first session is completed.
Okay.
So we will announce the break now.
Yeah, my suggestion would be, if everybody agrees, to have a 5 minutes or 10 minutes break, but I don't know if you guys agree on that, and then come back and we can see if we can do everything in 1 hour and a half from there. So to finish, let's say 2:30 my time, and then around 2:45 my time, so it is before 6 p.m. your time, we resume, because I guess more than 3 hours in front of the computer listening, it is challenging for everybody. If you agree, Tamar, we can do like that, and then we'll come back with a more concrete discussion on industry, academia, and local development approaches.
Perfect. We can just have 5 minutes, max 5 minutes break. Okay, now it's 4:08. Okay, at 4:15 we can return here and continue our panel discussion. Okay, we have 5 minutes break.
Thank you. Have a coffee. Come back.
Okay.
Ciao, Ramon. Thank you.
თამუნა მეც გავალ ეხლა საბჭოდან მირეკავენ.
Okay, shall we? Or we wait 2 more minutes? Tamar, you are the boss here.
Everybody is here. Yeah. I would like to introduce panelists, and then Nicolas, you can go on leading the panel. Okay.
It's gonna be difficult without some cha-cha, but I will do my best.
Chacha will be when it will be face-to-face meeting.
Please, it's very much needed.
Yes. Okay. I would like to introduce our panelists. Ketevan Ginzurashvili, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture of Agagi Dereteli Kutaisi State University. He is the Doctor of Technologies, Professor, Member of Scientific National Academy of Abkhazia, Expert of Accreditation of National Center for Education and Quality Enhancement, and Head of Technology Team in the Education Branch Council. Daria Holodilina is the co-author of Vinologia Georgia, a guidebook to Georgian wine regions, the founder and the wine tour curator at Trails and Wines, the founder of Wine Subscription Wine Junkies, and the lecturer at the newly established Tourism School of Caucasus University. Zurab Tsignadze is the first category senior specialist in Regional Project Coordination Service of the State Representative Administration of Kakheti region. His previous position was the head of Regional Department of Ministry of Agriculture. On both positions, he actively cooperates with Telavi State University in the direction of researches. Vladimir Tsimaguridze, who is a professional in marketing and public relations. He is the Master of Social Sciences. He has 16 years of experience in marketing and PR of different organizations such as banks, finance, and building companies. He is the co-founder and director of Grand Invest and Marketing Consultant Company, Geomix. At the same time, he is the head of marketing department of Winery Khareba. So he's here from the Winery Khareba. And Ketevan Ochishvili, who is graduated of Agrarian University of Georgia, and she is the student at Georgian Technical University, Georgian level winemaking viticulture master program. And at the same time, she is winemaker in Chateau Mukhrani. So I think that we have a very representative panel. So the floor is yours, dears.
Thank you very much, Tamar. Thank you all the panelists for being here. What I was saying, how Chacha was not a joke. I am pretty much in love with Chacha, but the real one, not the one you buy in the supermarket, the one you buy in some.
I'm using to bring you that one.
That's why. No, and I used to go to Georgia and drink quite a lot of Chacha. But in any case, without Chacha and with coffee, we shall start. The logic of this panel is twofold. On one hand, we want to know a little bit more about the specific experience of Georgia in terms of industry university collaboration, and on how this industry university collaboration, we can say knowledge creation, is linked to regional development. So how does it impact in the region? This is on one hand. This is what we want to know on your different cases. On the other hand, we also want to open the discussion a little bit on how a project like Vita Global, that has various possibilities of supporting these actions, from the production of joint modules with industry and university, from the possibility to enhance international North-South cooperation between, I don't know, Georgia and Europe in this case, but also from the perspective of enhancing South-South-North cooperation. And this is something I want to underline, because one of the aims of the project is to bring together South American wine production regions, South Africa, Georgia, and some regions in Europe that by default already have these connections. So for me, it's a pleasure when I see Georgians visiting Argentina and drinking Argentinian wine. And I hope to see Argentines drinking Georgian wine soon, if the COVID-19 allows. Probably the moment they try Chacha, they will fall in love, as I did with Chacha and Georgia. I don't know what comes first, if the Chacha, the love, or Georgia, in which is the order. So Vita Global offers a series of opportunities for partners, but also for, as you guys, for people outside the consortium that are working in the field, in the region, together with the universities, and looking at how to develop the economy on your region, having wine at the, or wine production at the center of the picture. So my suggestion is, let's try to be short in the answers. Let's try to have the possibility to interact among ourselves and with some of the people, the audience that it is with us. Let's try to do this in 1 hour, and then we will have 10 minutes to wrap up. And if everything goes okay, 5:30 your time, we can say we did it. If we are optimists. So I have some questions that I want to address to all the panelists. I will start question by question, and then we can start. We can.
Remember, we gave them 5 minutes to introduce.
I know. You will have that 5 minutes, but if you use that 5 minutes, the moment you take the floor, using those minutes in order to address the first question, that it is going to be easy to do because it's in line of a general presentation, that would be great. So first thing that I wanna know, or that I would like to ask, and I think Vita Global colleagues are also interested in knowing this, is from your perspective. So you can introduce yourself, what do you do, etc. And from your perspective, how do you see in general industry, university collaboration when it comes to your region, when it comes to Georgia? How do you see it? So first, who are you? What are you doing? How do you see industry university collaboration? And if you can name 1 or 2 challenges that relationship has, so we can start the discussion on that. Since I don't know how you are seeing the speakers, I know how I am seeing you. I will start with Kativan, that I have her to my left, and then we'll go to Daria, Saruv, Vladimir. Oh, Kativa, the floor is
Hello. Hello, I am Ketevan Kinturashvili, professor from Accreditation State University, Dean at Agrarian Faculty. I am glad to take part in today's meeting and wish you all a successful working day. First of all, I would like to inform you that Accreditation State University's Faculty of Agriculture offers various educational programs at all 3 levels. But considering the current topics, I will speak about 2 programs: food technology and expertise, and tourism. We have about 400 students in these 2 specifics. Both programs, with their goals and learning outcomes, are focused on the development of the consumer food market and tourism. Today, the main topic of our meeting is winemaking and viticulture. Therefore, we will very briefly present the region where our programs are implemented and the approaches. What is the connection between producing, production, and the university? Imereti is one of the most diverse parts of Georgian wine, with very different climatic conditions and soil composition. So the wines are different everywhere. There are many varieties in Imereti, but the region is still famous for Krahuna from Sviri, Solikauri from Ovcha, and Tsitska from Quality. Very specific wines are obtained from such varieties as Otshanuri Sapere, Chhaveri from Vani, Unza, Aladasturi, Dzelshavi, and others. Traditional winemaking here is in other regions is associated with patches, which are called churi in Emirati. Unlike traditional Kahetian wine, only a small part of chacha is added to the sweet. After boiling, the wine is left in the jar for about 2 months. Then removed from the sediment, transferred to barrels and processed. The wine type of Emirati is mainly beautiful yellow color, full, meaningful, quite harmonious and cheerful. Red wines are also produced and Otshanuri Saperi is special from them. There are several wine factories in Emirati, but Mehvineo Bakhareba stands out from them. This meeting is also attended by representatives. And in general, the development of winemaking and viticulture in the region is connected to small farms and family wineries. We, in parallel with the learning process, always try to give students the opportunity to have a lively relationship with the producers, to go through internships with growers and winemakers. In this regard, our contacts and producers' interest in us have been especially strong when the university, with the involvement of the Faculty of Agrarian and Business, has implemented quite a large multi-year project with the support of the Czech government. In particular, by the Faculty of Tropical Agricultural Sciences of the Prague Agricultural University, and with an international non-profit organization with people in need, we have been involved in studies on the situation in the field of winemaking and viticulture in Emirati, and the development prospects of the field have been planned based on the results of the research. As a result, mutual cooperation agreements were signed with the university, which is to be welcomed by us, as the links with the productions have enhanced the competence of the students' practical skills and even enabled the students of the tourist direction to take care of the development of that field, what is called wine tourism, and which in Emirati, unlike Kaheti, is only now starting to develop. Thus, the close connection between universities and production will contribute to the development of the agricultural and service sectors in general in the regions, whatever we serve. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Perfect. So let me thank you for this presentation and introduction of your institution and the way you are looking at development and program development and industry. It's very, very interesting. But you are the dean, correct? You are the dean. So
yes, I am dean. I am dean.
Okay, great. So let me ask, I'll move to Daria, who is a professor, not the dean, who's probably has to deal with deans as well and a different hierarchy at the university to see from the perspective of a professor, what are the challenges? So the university, probably your institution as well, as Kativan institution, will have a lot of MOUs and agreement between the industry and the university, etc., 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 and the political will to develop that in order to enhance the regional economy, as Kativan was letting us know. But it would be very interesting to see how a professor who has to teach sees this and how is the learning process, in the sense if your teaching is shared with industry representatives, if it is not, what is the perspectives of your student, what it is demand in the classroom, etc. Please.
Thank you very much for giving the panel. I hope, yeah, so everybody can hear me, right? Yeah, so yeah, I'm first of all the practitioner. I work in the wine tourism and I work in wine writing as well. And recently the Caucasus University, that is based in Tbilisi, invited me to become the lecturer in the tourism school. And I was very excited because in my opinion, from my perspective, there is a lack of academically educated people in the tourism sector. So for example, there are different levels of this. So from my angle, so to say, if I may share the screen briefly, I will talk a lot, but I just wanted to show a couple of pictures. So yeah, my idea is like, what should I teach a person at the university that I would like to hire later, because this is the main idea of creating a tourism school, to give people the knowledge that will make this person competitive at the job market, obviously. So does it click? No? Huh. All right, no problem. So basically, my idea was, exactly. Georgia is an old winemaking country, as we all know, and it's so exciting. And from my experience, when I mostly work with Western tourists, when they come to Georgia, there are several misunderstandings that often happen. For example, of course, this deep immersion into the winemaking culture and wine culture is great, but sometimes the small winemakers or even the guides that are looking for a job, that are conducting already the tours to the small rural wineries. Today at this panel, we have big players like Chateau Mokhrani and Khareba, the big amazing wineries that have big staff, well-trained staff. And I'm talking mostly about the regional people in the regions. Also in the previous part of the seminar, we were mentioning the community development. So if we talk on the kind of on a grassroots level, community level, people are not very well educated in the terms of tasting, for example, or don't have a wide picture of what's happening globally. So that's why we often listen to legends about Kvevri, about, you know, like what our kings and queens used to drink, but we cannot compare, for example, Cazzipelli and Riesling, or Mutzwane and Sauvignon Blanc, or something like this. And I think this is very important to teach in the wine school and in the wine and tourism school, especially. Then again, the next aspect is misunderstanding of what a tasting is sometimes, because in the rural areas, quite often, instead of getting a flight of wines and explanation of what's behind each glass, you are getting a full amazing table with great food and great hospitality and singing and everything, but finally the guest is ending up being amazingly tipsy and happy and everything, but the understanding of what was in the glass sometimes is missing. And of course, a lot of things, like we had the presentation from the technical university, and I think this is more related to already to tourism service providers, so to the winemakers in the regions. This lack of technical understanding is also missing sometimes. So how the winemaker explains his own work, what he does, not only the fact that his grandparents were making it, but the fact how it's actually being made. So this is what I would really like to see in the curricula of not only Caucasus University, but of, for example, technical university, agricultural university, the ones that educate the people who I can later visit with my guests. So if, for example, the first point about the tasting and drinking culture is completely like tackling the problem of good guides or tour planners, the last one is solely about the winemakers. So in my case, from my kind of practitioner perspective, we need good tour guides and tour leaders that will be learning in the Caucasus University Tourism School. We need the other universities to educate the winemakers, to offer at least some courses. I know that the winemakers are busy people. Sometimes they don't have time to go through the whole bachelor or master program, but at least there should be some brief courses that will teach them slightly more about how to explain what they do. And of course, the tour planners and tour operators, so my colleagues also, it will be very helpful to have the specialists in the field of wine tourism, the ones that will kind of make the balanced program, not only supras and amazing feasts and ethnographical program, but also kind of to have this balance between ethnographical and wine related, because sometimes when we have guests that have traveled to France, New Zealand, Italy, Spain, Argentina, and then they also want to learn more about wine of Georgia, about the technology and like what's happening on the molecular level. And when people cannot explain it, neither the guide nor the winemaker, sometimes it's sad, but I can say that situation is definitely improving. When I was attending some wine courses also with several winemakers, I saw that the interest is growing and the opportunities are growing too. And I think my 5 minutes are over, but for example, in my company, we made also the online tour, virtual reality tour. So when the lockdown starts, we also offer this type of product, and later I can, for example, send the link to this. And I want to use it for my students to explain how can, like what elements should the average tourism product include. So they can be ethnography, they can be like explanation of this winemaking technology, that winemaking technology, and so on. So I'm explaining to them which wines, which technologies exist in Georgia, every wine cellar, this, that, and I think such brief crash course introductions can be useful as well. But I'm happy that the things like wine tourism become a part of bigger pictures, more serious curriculums, and that's in Caucasus University now from this September on, we will have the opportunity to teach the people that I will probably hire in the future to collaborate and develop our wine tourism together. So I think that's it from my perspective so far. And I'm curious to hear what the others have to say, especially the colleagues from Mukhrani and Khareb. I love your tourism products, the amazing, like beautiful, beautiful places that represent Georgia so well.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. You have introduced another level of this complex relationship, which is the skills. And on one hand, the skills that are needed to conduct some professional activities, and on the other hand, the sort of professional activities that you think have most of the impact in the region. So everything is a cycle. Taking advantage of what you have introduced regarding the skills, since we have here Kativan, I cannot pronounce your surname. I'm really sorry about this.
Hello,
Whatever
yes.
I say, it's gonna sound
it's very hard to
bad.
pronounce.
Yeah. So maybe you can present yourself as well and take your time, but give us some idea on how an important, let's say, chateau or company sees the university production in terms of skills. What the skills you are missing, if you see a gap in the formation of professionals, and if your participation as a company in the, let's say, educational stream of the relationship between university and industry in Georgia is good enough, or if you would like to see a bit more.
So hello, thanks. I'm Keti. It's my short name from Ketivan. I'm an Eastern winemaker in Chateau Mukhrani, and as well currently studying in Technical University on the master's degree. So as I recently graduated from Agricultural University, and also currently am studying on the master's in Technical University, and also working in winery, I would like to talk about the experience what I have regarding the relationship between winery and university, especially laboratory and practical work. Because I think and I believe that what you learn in university and you do in university, it's very important to see in the real life, because all the perspectives of what you can learn in university, you can use in the practice in the winery. But as well, when you are working in the winery, you can see other sides of the same subjects. That's why I think it's very important to have a very good collaboration between universities and the wineries, especially because it's not only the helping for the students, but as well the very good for the wineries, which can go more in deep in some particular parts of the science. For example, in the chemistry laboratory or the microbiological studies. So, so Shatom Ukraini every year has interns, and we think that it's very important for the students to see all their studies, what they are studying in universities, but usually it's very theoretical. To see the practice, because when you see in practice and you understand in a different way, it's together the theoretical knowledge and the practical work creates very good specialists, which we really need nowadays. So this was all what I wanted to say. I hope I expressed myself.
Very well. Thank you very much for your comments. We also have another representative of the industry, the head of marketing division winery, Vladimir. So, what's your take, Vladimir, in this discussion? How do you see?
Hello, dear participants. I'm representative of one of the largest Georgian wine producing company, Winery Hareba, head of marketing division, Vladimir Simakuridze. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in the workshop. I think that such platforms and discussions are very important for business development and, on the other hand, for the educational sector development. Today I will talk about relationship and cooperation between my company and Georgian Technical University, but there are several other universities, of course. But before moving on to specific cases, I will share with you a little information about my company and also explain the main reasons, interests, and results of this cooperation. Today, Winery Hareba operates in two sectors in Georgia. Firstly, it's of course wine production, and secondly, tourism. And we're glad and we're proud that in both sectors, Hareba is among leader companies. In the wine sector, Winery Hareba is one of the three largest winemaking companies in Georgia, owns over 1,800 hectares of vineyards throughout Georgia, produces over 50 different wines, and is represented in over 30 export markets around the world. It is significant that over the past 15 years, our wines have won over 200 international awards, which indicates the highest quality of our wines. As I mentioned earlier, Winery Hareba also owns one of the unique tourist complexes in the Kakheti region, the Quarrel Wine Cave, with a tremendous length and beautiful infrastructure around it. The cave is 7.7 kilometers long and contains over 25,000 bottles of wine, many of which are half a century old. So the complex annually receives almost 100,000 visitors from different countries. As you know, wine and tourism sectors are the fastest growing directions in Georgia, and year by year we have great deficit of professional employees, and we're constantly thinking about how to solve the existing problem. So I hope you will agree with me that one of the correct ways is to cooperate with the educational sphere to find new employees, improve their qualifications, and attract a new generation to our business due to the constant lack of human resources. Now I will tell you about specific cases of collaboration between Winery Hariba and the Georgian Technical University. Our cooperation began in 2019, and during this year we have completed several projects. Our first project, and I think a very successful project, was the Students' Conference on Microbiology and Winemaking, where we selected 7 wining students and financed their trip to Italy for special master classes. After this project, we started a program of internship for students in our wine enterprises, where they work with our professional winemakers and laboratory specialists. And today, some of the students are already our co-workers because of their talent, hard work, and good skills. Of course, we also constantly observe their educational process at the university, give them various master classes in the classroom and improve their professionals in order to prepare them for work in our company in the near future. This was a part of our. This is part of our process of joint work with the Georgian Technical University, and there are many other interesting processes in our daily work. But the main and global goal for both of us is to raise a professional and qualified new generation for our Spain and for Georgia, of course. This was the information that I wanted to share with you, and I tried to speak shortly.
Thank you very much. So skills are important for employability. University and industry are apparently cooperating strongly in Georgia. All of you have mentioned cases of cooperation to create and promote those skills and to target the gaps in the formation of students. Some of you even mentioned the importance of the students as let's say, a channel of the skills needed. But all this should have an impact in the region. Because, and this is also one important part of Vita Global. I learned in Vita Global that the most interesting thing of wine is not the wine, is who do you drink the wine with and where do you drink the wine. In that sense, the region has a lot of importance in the winemaking process, and it's a receiver of the, let's say, profits that all the process can create. And here we have with us one representative of one of the most important, by the way, lovely region of wine in the world that I know, Kakheti in Georgia. We have Surab. So it would be interesting to know, Surab, you from the region, from Kakheti, how do you see this? Do you see your region benefiting out of the relationship that the colleagues were stating between university and industry? Do you see that something is missing? What would you expect?
Okay, at first, do you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, you're okay.
Thank you. So as I say, I'm only representative of public sector in our discussion, in our panel. Thank you for inviting me. I think I will give you some very, very good and interesting ideas. And at first, I'll share my opinion about the collaboration of university and the industry in Kakheti region. And as a public worker, I'll make a general overview of Kakheti region. You know, why do we need this collaboration? We need it because the sector of winemaking is growing every year. So nowadays we have about 300,000 tons of harvest of grapes in the region, and you must be sure that next year will be more and more because we have some new vineyards, and also some new vineyards are planted, so we are waiting for more growth. So growth in industry means more demand of professionals. So university must supply professionals and technology which is needed by the industry. And what is the challenge? If university cannot supply this, cannot give good professionals, some other universities can do it. But if other universities cannot do it, specialists from abroad will come here and will work here. So this is my idea of university and industry collaboration, that it is looks like very much of free market economy. There is supply and there is demand, and there is supply. What about my role in this process? During 5 years, I was a head of regional extension service. So we had 35 workers here, and we worked for big companies, but mainly we worked for small and medium-sized farmers. Everybody knows it, that small-scale farmer cannot go to the university every day because university doesn't have some special unit to receive every day receive 10 or 15 or 20 people who has at least one question, right? So that's why in the regions there are extension centers who can answer their questions. And small farmers have very many different questions. Some of them want to grow as much as possible. Some of them want to grow bio grapes. Some of them have only winery, and so on. So what is a possibility for the university is to have good, very, very good service helping extension centers. And we did it as well, but it was something like sharing information. The big advantage of Tel Aviv State University is that they can do research on the place where the production is going on, and then give information about this research to the extension centers to provide small farmers with information. More or less, communication with big companies is good, and they have no problem with sharing information. But with small farmers, I see this challenge. So I answer the two of your questions. The first one, how I see the collaboration, and the second, what is the challenge in that collaboration. Thank you. That was.
Thank you very much for all of you for your sharp answers. I have one small round of questions or reflections that I would like to know from your side. Sorry if you listen in background noise. It's my daughter that it is running out of control at this moment. I need to give her some cha-cha to calm her down. Some points that I think would be very interesting to know. Vita Global is a project that it is trying to go a little bit beyond the traditional cooperation between industry and university. It is looking at generating academic content, generating modules, generating these modules between university and industry, or let's say fostering that cooperation, never losing the sight of the region where the wine or the product in this case is produced, because wine is true. Saruba, I think it's a lot about, supply, demand, the rules of the market supply, but it's a product that have a plus that other products do not have, that gives you an experience of the people that are making the product, and gives you a lot of knowledge about the context, the tradition, and there are a lot of people living, literally living around the wine. So what I want, just hold 1 second, sorry, Emilia, por favor. So what I would like to know is how Vita Global, which is a project that it is looking at South-South cooperation. Some of you mentioned some Argentinians, Chileans, or South Africans going to Georgia. How this can help, if can, maybe it cannot. How does Vita Global, how could Vita Global help the universities in Georgia, the regions in Georgia, the industry in Georgia, to be, let's say, more internationalized in the way some of you mentioned, of getting people engaging in this process from different parts of the world. Or maybe you want to mention some other project that you are working on. But we do want to know how Vita Global, because I'm seeing here that we have some colleagues from Mendoza and from Uruguay and from South Africa listening to us. So it would be good to know how we can open avenues of cooperation between Georgia and other parts of the world that are wine producers and that have probably the same challenges that you have. Who wants to start? Daria, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think so. So from my, I think that in our case, so for the tourism school, it would be just great to have the international lecturers sometime, just for the sake of experience, for the sake of making the knowledge of Georgian future wine guides, or just tourism guides, or people who work in wine tourism, just to globalize our knowledge. Of course, the other thing is that in order to have this global idea of the wine regions, you also need to taste, and we don't have a plenty of international wine in Georgia. Of course, like the selection is there, but it's not as big as, for example, like in Germany, in Czech Republic, in Ukraine, whatever, like say in Central Europe. So yeah, but at least the understanding the best examples of international colleagues, it would be just great for us.
Thank you very much. Kativan, from your university perspective, how does international cooperation can help your institution to enhance the internationalization process on one hand and the relationship with industry when it comes to curricular development on the other? I think your microphone is off, Kativan. Hello, are you? Maybe we go to Vladimir and then we leave Kativan for the next round. Maybe she has a problem with the audio. Vladimir, from the perspective of a...
Okay. I'll answer it your question. How do you see the role of university industry collaboration in Kakheti? So, as I mentioned, our tourist complex is located in the Kakheti region. I told about it. And over 90% of our employees are locals. Also, Winery Harib owns branded wine shops all over Georgia, and we always try to hire local staff. But it's very important that when we are looking for candidates for a long-term job or internship, we have great support from the university because they provide us with information about the candidates. They conduct various trainings and master classes with our employees, and such cooperation helps us in the formation of professional workers in the regions, of course. That was summary I wanted to tell about our work in Kakheti region and our collaboration with the Georgian Technical University.
Thank you very much. I don't know if Kativan is now with the audio connected. If you are, what we would like to know is how Vita Global can help an academic institution to internationalize their program, to make them more accessible to industry, to make it more, let's say, competitive at the end at the end, to make them more, let's say, internationally or internationalized. I think no, she still has a problem with the audio. It is okay. We'll ask the same question to Surab, because Vita Global, you know, Surab, we have the chance, Tamar also had the chance to go and visit different regions and to learn the challenges of different, let's gonna put it differently, to taste the challenges and regions when it comes to local development around wine. Do you have connections with other regions of the world? How this collaboration is channeled? Is this collaboration channeled by universities? How do you work with other regions that are probably facing the same sort of challenges than Kakheti in Georgia?
Yes, of course, Kakheti has many connections to other regions, and the biggest reason why do we have this connection is that we are wine region. But unfortunately, the other regions from abroad with whom we have connections, about 5 or 10% are wine regions. All other regions are not wine regions. So this is a challenge for us, because it's better to have contact with municipality or with town or with region like you, to share some more interesting and useful ideas. And the question you were asking before, I want to answer that question. Ramon told us very good story about Priorat wine region. So the idea of development of Priorat region belonged to a person from other place. Local people thought a lot about that, but they could not see what to do. So it is very good when somebody from other place, from abroad or from inside the country, comes and sees first time that problem, or first time that people and the environment. So from that comes very useful ideas. And that's why I think your project is very good, and you must seek people, open-minded people, and send them to other regions just to provide some useful ideas. That is what I think.
Thank you very much. Don't worry. We all are gonna go to Kakheti sooner than later and drink your wines and enjoy the weather and the sightseeing. That it is fantastic. Look, we have 45 minutes around of comment and discussion. I honestly do not have any other specific question to pose. I think all the themes that I had in mind were more or less mentioned. We have different experiences, different approaches to the same problem. We saw how different institutions are more or less different institutions. I mean, universities on one hand, practitioners on the other, industry representatives on the other, and the state, the region, the government are looking at the issue. And more or less, I have to say that whenever we do these sort of discussions, we more or less face the same sort of challenges. Now, what I would like to do in order to take advantage of the next 20 minutes is to ask the people that are listening to us if they have any question to pose to the panelists or some issue that they want to discuss specifically. You can do it with the question and answer icon that you find below in the toolbox of the screen. So Tamar, it is okay if we give them 2 minutes or 1 minute to pose the question if they have it.
Yes, it's okay. We are waiting for their questions, so they are free to post the questions.
Okay, so colleagues, if you have any question, comment, reaction, it is now. You have 1 minute because you need to type, so you can, or you can raise your hand. I don't know if this system allows you to raise your hand. If Professor Gatian has technical problems, no problem. Okay, here we have one question. Let me open. Oh, no, thank you so much for the interesting presentation. That wasn't the question, but you, sir, you wanted to say something, Surab?
Yeah. What do you think? Can Kakheti and Chacha compete with European drinks like Grappa, Tipino, or
You're
some
asking me?
other?
If you're asking me, I will say yes, 100%. I'll tell you, you will feel proud, Surav, of what I'm going to tell you. 7 years ago, I decided with some friends and my partner to go to Georgia, to Kakheti on holidays. And we had some wine, and we were taking a taxi back to the hotel. And I wanted to do some chacha. And I asked the taxi driver, can you get me some chacha? He stopped in a little shop, very small, in the middle of the road. And there was this old lady with the, I don't know, it was like from another time. And I said, do you have some chacha, real chacha? She said, yes. She went down, she took 2 7-Up bottles, very cold, the best drink I ever had in my life. Nothing grappa, nothing can compete with that. So the answer is yes, absolutely. The region is beautiful, people are great, food is great, sightseeing is great. So yes.
So when you come to Georgia, I invite you to my chacha factory. I have very small traditional chacha factory. It's about 2 kilometers from Tesau. So tomorrow I'm going to distill some.
Great. So all Vita Global partners are invited to drink real chacha in a chacha factory. Now maybe we'll have a lot of interventions from this moment on. But thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I
So
know
we will only bless COVID-19 finish soon, so we will have chance to.
Yeah,
pleasure.
Yeah, in order to also wrap up a little bit and put this seminar or workshop, your experience in relationship with the project, what are we doing now in Vita Global, the state of the project? We are developing, I think Tamara and Ramon introduced this at the beginning, but we are trying to develop modules, and universities in Georgia are doing this together with international partners. And our idea, and this is important also to ask you for your cooperation, both from industry and universities with Vita Global. What we are trying to do is that colleagues from Chile, colleagues from Argentina, colleagues from South Africa can also learn from an academic perspective from the experience of Georgia. So we are going to repeat this type of university industry workshop in different regions. We already had one in South Africa, similar. We also had the chance to listen to the perspective of industry and university. I think, Tamar, you were there. We will have also an online, unfortunately, webinar having the perspective from Uruguay, which Uruguay is also one production country, which they make one sort of very nice wine. And we will try to come and to put all this together. And I invite you all also to participate in those seminars to learn from the perspective of other countries. From my side, I just have to thank you very much for your participation. I think the cases, and if you can send Tamar the presentations, and then we can share it in our Vita Global website, then probably some other colleagues from Vita Global will have the chance to address you directly to see if they want to learn something else. Vita Global is a very ambitious project, very modest in its spirit, but very, very ambitious. And we hope that we contribute a little bit with the enhancement or the push of the development of Kakheti and its wines, that they need to be known even more than they are in the world. Tamar, thank you very much from my side. All the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It was really, I think that our workshop was very productive because we really didn't know Daria, and now we know her. We didn't know Ketevan, and we know her. So, and also other representatives of the different industries, Hareva and Shadu Mukhrani. Thank you very much. Thank you to all attendees. And if you have the questions, please put here on the chat box. If you don't have the questions, the whole meeting was recorded, and we will share this record, and it will be very nice if you just share this video to other people who are really interested and who would like to, who wanted to attend the meeting, but they had some problems and they couldn't attend the meeting. It will be very important for them to get known what was the meeting about. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tamara, and thank you all the Georgian colleagues, because I know you have done a great effort in putting this together in the middle of a pandemic, and then there was these problems with the time and so on. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon, all of you, in Georgia. That for me would be
first in Uruguay and then Georgia, or has something changed already?
In Uruguay, yes, Tamara. I have a problem, you know, I'm Argentinian, so if I are going to Uruguay, I have to jump and go to Argentina, and let's see which is the best wine. I have already my favorite. It's Chacha. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Very much.